What's up, guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, then my name is Brianna, but you can call me Bri, and that's my dog Coco right there. And in today's video, we're going to be showing you guys how to fence up your property. I'm going to show you guys step by step of how we did it. I'm going to talk to you guys about materials, tools, how we did it, how much you have to dig in, just everything you got to know to put up your fence. Behind me, you can see ours is already done, but we took a ton of videos while we were doing it, and now I can explain to you guys every single step. Our land has come a long way from fixing up the pond to extending the porch, fixing the swamp, but one of the biggest things that we had to add to our land was the fence. Well, first we're going to talk about materials and cost. And if you see me looking down, it's because I have everything written down for you guys and I don't want to miss a single detail. So our land is 2.5 acres big. And before fencing, of course, you have to measure the linear feet around your property or the perimeter to know how many feet of fence and poles you're going to need. We did have this little gate right here in our property before we started, so we did not count those feet. And just to let you guys know, our total cost for fencing up our property was around $1,800. And the sizes that we used are very normal. We see them literally around every single land around here, and we have a 2.5 acre piece of land. So you guys can kind of estimate how much it's going to cost for you off of that. First, keep in mind that you're going to need two types of posts. First, the regular size posts to go all along your fence, and then bigger posts for your corners. Another thing to think about is how you're going to dig the holes for your post. If you have a lot of land, it's going to take a really long time to dig all your holes. We used a digger that runs on gas. I'm going to look it up on Amazon and see how much it costs for you guys, but it made the digging so much easier. Maybe 30 to 60 seconds to dig the hole straight down and then bring it back up. It saves a lot of time, but you could use a regular shovel if you're up to it, or one of those shovels that digs vertical holes down. I actually can't remember the size of our actual fencing, so I'm just going to go ahead and measure it here. This is what we had left over. It's about 4 feet tall, and the holes are 6 inches by 5.5 inches. If you're gonna fence, then just see if you can find a similar size to that. And besides from the fencing, you might need, if you want, barbed wire. We don't have any leftover barbed wire for me to show you guys, so I'm gonna show you guys on the fence. And this is a very similar one on Amazon. The only thing I am going to tell you guys about the barbed wire is it's extremely heavy to carry around, so you might want to figure out a method to unwrap it because it comes in a huge circle and pass it along your fence. But it is optional. It's not really a necessity, but it is an extra layer of safety. And really, it depends on why you're fencing. If you have animals with you, you might not need that. We're kind of just fencing for people and because there's a lot of stray dogs in this area and we don't want them getting around and maybe fighting with Coco or something happening. You want to up? Up, come on. And now let's talk about the posts. So for the posts, the regular ones that just go along the whole fence are 2 to 3 inches wide. And the big ones that are on the corners are 4 to 5 inches wide. And they're all 6.5 feet tall. And the next thing to cover would be the nails, or I think they're called gramps actually. We bought a huge box that's really heavy that we're actually going to use for some other lands that also have to be fenced. But the gramps are very heavy duty. They're about 1 inch long each, and they're very sharp, so be careful with them. But they're great and they leave the fence very sturdy. And just to be clear, you use the gramps to nail down the fencing and the barbed wire. And that pretty much covers all the materials that we had to buy. Now we're going to move on to tools. But if you guys have any questions or I missed something, please make sure to comment down below because I know a little bit about this and my dad knows everything. So if you have any questions, we will answer you guys. Now for the tools. You actually don't need that many, just maybe a few hammers to nail down the fence, some metal cutting scissors to cut the fence because we actually cut it ourselves when we had to in the corners, and some pliers, but that's actually it. I'd say maybe 30 bucks for all the tools if you happen to not have those. I already told you guys what we had to buy for digging, but we already had that because we used it for our fence at home, so it's actually good for a lot of things. Well, now that you guys know about all the materials that we need to use, it's time to start fencing. And the first thing is digging. There it goes, back in the water. But let's talk about the depth of the holes. The holes actually need to be 24 to 30 inches deep, which is perfect because the machine actually already digs 24 to 30 inches deep. The drill is actually, I'd say, 3 feet long, which is perfect. My dad and my uncle are actually the ones who did the first part of the fence, which was transferring the poles to where they go and digging the holes and then putting them in and making sure they're sturdy. Here's some footage of them doing that. So the first thing they did was load them all up into the tractor because they are pretty heavy, and then they transported them to where they go. For fencing, the poles go 10 feet apart. So every 10 feet, they would drop a post and then keep going, and another 10 feet drop one, and so on until they got to the end. And now for digging. You can see they grabbed our digger first, and then they dug around a 24 to 30 inch hole, like I said, and then in goes the post. And using the dirt around it that the machine got out, they make it sturdy and then hit the dirt around it to make sure it's compact and make sure that the post is pretty level and vertical. The size of the drill is actually perfect because the biggest size the posts get is 6 inches wide, and the drill is 6 inches wide. So it's perfect. First, they kind of just went around digging the holes and put the post in the holes, and then they would come back together and make sure it's very sturdy. It's in there with the dirt around it compacted, and it's a sturdy pole. Then they made sure it's kind of level and straight so it doesn't look crooked, and around the same height that all the posts around it are. It doesn't have to be perfect because it is an outdoor fence. Our posts aren't perfectly aligned because the dirt just does go. So it's not going to be perfectly level, but it looks really decent, and it kind of adds a level of fancy to your land. And another thing is now I don't have to worry about Coco escaping or running away anywhere because he's safe in here and there's no way for him to get out. And I don't have to worry about the other stray dogs coming in because they have come in before. That's kind of all they did for the first day working here. They put all the posts in place, made sure they were sturdy and straight, and that was it. They did this whole side all the way from the end all the way over here, and I'm pretty sure they did do that corner, which I'm going to explain to you guys now how the process is for the corners, and all this side along there to the other side of the property. So before we talk about fencing, let's talk about how to do the corners. So for the corners, you can't see that they cut them kind of on an angle. My uncle is a very good woodworker, so he cut them on an angle. Let me show you guys. For this corner, they did use both type of poles. First, you can see we have one of the 4 to 5 inch poles. We actually have 3 of them. One there, and one there. And then these up top right here, these big braces are actually the regular ones that are 2 to 3 inches. And so is this one on the other side. And then for the bottom, we have the 2 diagonal pieces of wood that are the 4x5s. And you can see they did bolt them down very well there. And on the bottoms too, it's incredibly sturdy. You cannot move it. And it's just a great support for the fence. And I'm pretty sure that most properties have their corners like this because it's a great support for wind and stuff. But if they don't, this is how we did ours, and it's a great way to make your corners strong and make them great anchors for the rest of your fence. And now comes the fencing part. The fencing actually was a little bit complicated because we did have to stretch out the fence. And I think you're wondering, how the heck are you going to stretch out that whole piece of fence? Well, we actually used a car. Honestly, I can't remember if I filmed it, but we did tie up a little chain to our fence here and then put our van right there on that piece of grass that we have, and very, very slowly. This has to be a very careful process because anything could snap and somebody could get injured. So be very careful when doing this. We used our van and hooked up a chain to the ball that hooks up the trailer of our boat, actually using a bar through the fence in between the hoops. So let's say it would go in through this one and then out through this one and then in through this one, and kind of like that. And then we hooked up a chain to it and pulled it to stretch it out. Not too much though, because you could risk damaging the holes and maybe bending them to the side or giving them a weird angle, which did happen to us in the front, unfortunately. So then guys, with the van right there pulling the fence, I was actually here that day. It was a weekend, and me, my dad, and our friend Josie and my mom started all the way from that corner over there to this side, nailing down the fence with our little Gramps. I held the Gramps, my dad was nailing them down, and our friend Rosie made sure that the fence was level and that it was the same distance from the top of the pole. So he would like go like this with his hand. His hand is bigger than mine, so he would just go like this and make sure that it was at a right height. Come on, let's go, let's go. But basically, we just came nailing it down as a team, making sure that it was at the right height. And my dad would nail them down. We actually did something where we nailed one, yes. Ignore the barbed wire, but that's the first one. And then he would not do the next one, and then that one, and then not this one, and so on. The Gramps were actually pretty hard to put down. I actually tried. They're really hard to put in the wood. So my dad did it, and his arm was really tired by the end of it. So when you go to do your fence, make sure to have a team to help you out and have water. Take a break when you have to. Make it fun. Enjoy your day, because this is actually a fun process to do. So just enjoy it, because you're adding something great to your property that's going to help you in safety, going to help you in style, and just a great addition. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's how we put up our fence. It was a fun process, and it was so much fun to film this video. Coco is having a blast out here, and now I can actually leave him loose all the time. I put a little light on him at night, but he can actually just wander around everywhere in the 2.5 acres, and I feel safe because I know that he's tied up. And I used to just have him tied up most of the time because I was scared that he would get loose or maybe fight with one of the stray dogs. Well, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Remember, if you have any questions at all, then please make sure to comment down below and we will answer as soon as possible. And thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, then please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below because we're almost at 500 subscribers, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We will be making more videos in the future of this land and as we progress more and make a bunch of cool things in here. So there's a bunch of cool videos coming, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Honestly, I really appreciate it and have a good day. Bye.